Hello. So we learned how to install dependencies using pip in the previous video, and in this video I want to show you how you can um, freeze the dependencies into a file. And by freezing I mean listing those dependencies into a file, so that once somebody has your source code, all they have to do is to create a new virtual environment, because you don't have to ship your source code with your virtual environment. Everybody with a Python installation can create a virtual environment. So you need a way to export all these dependencies into a file, so that once somebody has your source code, they create their own virtual environment and they can restore these dependencies using the file that you exported. But before I show you how to do that, let me go ahead and show you where Python is storing all these dependencies that we installed in the previous video. So this is my virtual environment and it is activated. The proof is here in my terminal. And once I go into the virtual environment and I open lib, you can see Flask. We installed Flask. You can see PyMongo, and you can see that they come with their own dependencies and other stuff they need to work. But basically I just needed you to know that these dependencies you are installing are only available in your virtual environment and not in the global Python installation. That is just an aside. So okay, now I'm going to show you how to freeze. And freeze is Python's technical term for exporting. Basically you are exporting your dependencies into a file, so that other developers who get hold of your source code, who check out your source code, will be able to create their own virtual environment and restore these dependencies using the file that you exported. And I'm going to remind you how to list the dependencies is to type pip list. And mind you, you should have, sorry, I mistakenly added this slash here. It's not needed at all. Let me actually clear screen and I'll do that again for you to see. So you just do pip list and you can see that all the dependencies we install with their dependencies in the virtual environment are listed here. So there is a convention in the Python community, and a convention is just a way of doing things that majority of the people in the Python community agree to. Basically is a convention. A convention is not a rule. You are free to break it, just that if you break it you are making other Pythonists' life difficult, because everybody expects the file to be called requirements.txt, even though you are free to choose any file name. But it is a good practice in the Python community to call that file requirements.txt. And once we freeze these dependencies into that file, you would see that something similar to what has been listed here is going to be entered into that file. And note something important here. You can see that for each dependency, the specific version is also listed. For each dependency, the specific version. So for Ginger 2, we are using the version 2.10. And for Flask, what we installed was 1.0.2. And the reason this is important is, like I said in the videos in the start of this series, I talked about why we need virtual environment. So assuming one project needed Flask 1.0.1 and another one needs 1.0.3, and all you have is your global Python installation, then it becomes a mess. But thanks to virtual environment, we don't have this problem anymore. So let me go ahead and show you how to freeze, and you can guess. I'll give you 3 seconds to guess which command we are going to use. Unsurprisingly, it is pip freeze, and then you use this character to redirect the output into a file called requirements.txt. So if you were expecting to see anything and you are not seeing it, don't be surprised. Once you list the directory's content, you will see that a new file has been created called requirements.txt, and we can actually inspect the content of this file. I'm going to use the nano, and you can see that exactly something similar to what we got from pip list has been written to this file. And just in case you are not used to nano, so you are not seeing what I'm doing, I'm going to quit nano and I will open this file in Visual Studio Code for you to see. So the pip freeze command is what created this requirement.txt file, and the content of this file is showing exactly the dependencies that we installed in our virtual environment. Okay, so I'm going to repeat that again. All you have to do is to type pip freeze, and then you redirect it to a file name. Like I told you, you can call the file any name, but it is conventional to call it requirement.txt. And do this only after you have activated your virtual environment and you have installed your dependencies in them. Okay, now I'm going to show you one last thing and then we can close this video. The last thing I'm going to show you is how to restore these dependencies. So I'm going to assume that we have checked out a new code base and it has no virtual environment. So I'm going to deactivate this virtual environment, and then I'm actually going to delete the virtual environment folder. I'm going to say rm-rf env. So I'm deleting that folder. So if I come to Visual Studio Code, you can see that the env folder is gone. This is the state in which somebody who copies or clones your project from GitHub is going to have it, because we never kept track of the env folder. Now, if you checked out a repo like this, all you have to do is what you already know. I say python 3 -m venv, and I'll create a virtual environment called env. You can call it anything. And after some few seconds, if I list, you can see that it has created the env folder again. Now I can do source env bin activate. Now let's see something. I'm going to do pip list, and you can see that I don't have the dependencies I had in the previous installation. And let's see, what is it talking about? Deprecation. The default format will switch to columns in the future. You can use blah blah. It's talking about you having to upgrade your pip, and I've already shown you how to do that, so I'm going to ignore this message. But as you saw, when we did pip list, nothing happened. Now, how do we restore these dependencies into this virtual environment? All we have to do is to say pip install -r, and then we say requirement.txt. So basically we are saying pip install. This is a command you know already. That is how to download dependencies. But this time around, we are not listing, we are not typing the name of the dependency. We are giving a file from which it should read the dependencies and install them recursively. So that is what the -r here is for. Now I'll hit enter, and beautifully Python is going to download all the dependencies that are listed in the requirement.txt file and install them in this virtual environment. So now if I do pip list, then you can see that all the dependencies we originally had in the previous env are listed here. So basically, that is a workflow. You create your folder, you create your virtual environment, you activate the virtual environment, you store your dependencies, you install your dependencies, sorry, you work with your dependencies, and before you push it to GitHub or anything, remember to ignore your virtual environment folder. Now, on the other side, if you cloned somebody's repository or even your own repository onto another computer, it is not going to come with the virtual environment folder because you ignored it in the first place. Now, what do? You create a new virtual environment, and then you reinstall the dependencies that were frozen into the requirement.txt file. So basically, this is all I got to show you about how to use virtual environment with version control systems. And I hope you are enjoying these videos, and the only way I can know you're enjoying them is to leave your comment on the video, and also subscribe to my channel so that I will stay motivated to do this. Thank you, and see you in the next video.